Good morning, readers. Thanks for tuning in to Books in the Park. Hope you had a great week of reading. I was lucky enough to get a couple things finished, so I'm just going to get right into what I read this week. First thing was Klara and the Sun, which I brought up last week, Kazuo Ishiguro. It might be my favorite book of the year so far. Actually, one of the better books that I've read in quite a while. I have to think about it, but sometimes it's just like just books that are so simple and straightforward that are sometimes the most interesting. And this book is unique in that it follows Klara, who's the main character, and we see the world from her perspective throughout the book. And she is an artificial friend, or an AF. And we follow her from being in a store where she's being purchased to her developing relationship with a young person named Josie, who is a child with sort of ambiguous health issues. And so we see those two develop a relationship. We see Klara basically interacting, learning, observing the world for the first time, almost like a child. And we see little snippets of adult interaction, the interaction between humans and technology, and is just such a powerful and beautiful story, and complex in its simplicity. And I just say it's stayed with me. I've been thinking about it since I finished it, and it really makes me want to get into this author more. This is the first book that I've read by him, so I couldn't recommend it more. And I will say, for those of you who might be fans of children's books, it sort of reminded me of The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I kind of have been thinking about it within that context. So if it's a book that appeals to you, or that you read when you were a kid, I think this one has somewhat of a similar feeling, in sort of more of a modern vein, and just with our complex relationship with technology, with our phones, with now artificial intelligence coming out. I think it's a great book for a very interesting time, so definitely check it out. All right, so the next book that I finished was one that I talked about before, Narcissus and Goldmund by Hermann Hesse. And this is actually the second time that I've read this one. I read it when I was, I don't know, in high school, 18 or 19 years old, maybe a little earlier, but it was very impactful on my life at the time. And so it was interesting going back through a book that I hadn't read for 25 years. The story, just briefly, follows Narcissus and Goldmund as basically their relationship from the time that they meet in a cloister in a religious school to the time of, well, I'll just say till the time of the end, when their relationship ends. I don't really like giving anything big about the story. I just want to give you a good sense of what's going on. But really, their relationship starts in the beginning, and that's kind of the last time that we see Narcissus. What the story does is follow Goldmund on his journey. Now, Narcissus is someone who's pursuing the life of becoming a monk or religious figure, a learned person, and he convinces Goldmund that really that's not the life that he should be pursuing, that he's an artist, that he should be pursuing the life of the artist. And so the book follows Goldmund's journeys as a wanderer, as an artist, as a lover, and all of the trials and tribulations sort of that he goes through, the struggles, the beauty, and in the end, the two, Narcissus and Goldmund, come back together, and we sort of reflect on the journey that Goldmund has been through. It's funny because when I read it the first time, I think I very much connected with Goldmund being young and not exactly naive, but excitedly optimistic about the world, having very little experience, and so the first time around I really connected with that character, and then I think this time around I connected more with sort of the supporting characters in the book, the characters that are impacted by and interact with Goldmund. There's I'll just say an artist who has settled down and established a life and been married and had a child, and I connected with that character very much. His name is Nicholas. I didn't connect deeply with Narcissus, just because he's kind of, as a character, maybe aloof a little bit, and certainly I connect with his, his love of reading and study and that and whatnot. But a great book, still a great book. Hesse's prose is poetic, as I've mentioned before. It's always beautiful to read, and a great book, I think, either for for a young adult coming into the world, or someone like me who now has young adults coming into the world. It's great to see it from that different perspective. So check out Hermann Hesse, and I'm sure there'll be more about him to follow from me. Now, as for what I'm reading, I'm just reading one book now, and I read a couple of works of fiction, so I'm transitioning back to nonfiction, and I'm reading How to Live, or A Life of Montaigne. Now, basically, Montaigne was a French philosopher, and it follows. It's really interesting. It's a biography, and philosophy, and historical biography. There's so much history. There's philosophy, and basically each chapter tries to answer the question how to live based on either things that happened in Montaigne's life, or sort of his perspectives on the world, and sort of combined together, all with the backdrop of the sort of turmoil that's going on in France and the world more broadly at this time. So I don't know, maybe about 100 pages into it, it is so fascinating, and so far it's a lot of times nonfiction. It's kind of a struggle to get through, not this one. It feels very much like a story is being told as you absorb sort of this very important thinker. And there's a connection to Stoicism and to philosophy, like I said, and science and literature. It's just a beautiful book so far. I'll let you know more, have more for you in the future when I finish it, but so far so good. It's great. I love it. Thanks again for tuning in to Books in the Park. I wanted to leave you with my quote of the week, and this comes from Klara and the Sun. This is an interaction between Klara and Josie's father. And Josie's father is expressing some of his concerns just with the artificial friend idea, I think more broadly, and then specifically with this person, Capaldi, who is someone who he modifies artificial friends to try to make them more of what the owners want. I think I hate Capaldi because deep down I suspect he may be right. That what he claims is true. That science has now proved beyond doubt there's nothing so unique about my daughter. Nothing there our modern tools can't excavate, copy, transfer. That people have been living with one another all this time, centuries, loving and hating each other, and all on a mistaken premise. A kind of superstition we kept going while we didn't know better. That's how Capaldi sees the world. And there's a part of me that fears he's right. Some powerful stuff. And I think part of what makes this book so powerful is how pertinent it is to sort of the lives that we're living right now with technology and all that's changing and how quickly it's changing. So thanks again for tuning in to Books in the Park. I'll see you next week.